The episode begins with an alert flashing across the Soul Society's Department of Research and Development, an emergency warning triggered by an immense power. Meanwhile, in the human world, numerous hollows have mysteriously disappeared, and strange disturbances occur across Japan. A hand emerges from the shadows, holding a locket, as a mysterious figure steps forward, declaring that his task is complete and ordering his subordinates to eliminate the remaining enemies. Shino and Ryunosuke, two relatively inexperienced Soul Reapers, attempt to fight back, but Shino is quickly overwhelmed and injured. Ryunosuke tries to defend himself, but is impaled by a hollow. Just when he believes he is about to die, Ichigo Kurosaki and his team arrive, swiftly cutting down the hollows. Orihime, Chad, and Uryu aid in recovery efforts as Ichigo annihilates the remaining enemies. Later, as the group rests and eats, Ryunosuke recalls the previous night's events while Shino, now recovered, angrily kicks him for being careless. Suddenly, a mysterious man named Ebern appears, introducing himself to Ichigo. Ichigo quickly notices the Quincy cross Ebern wears, realizing he is not an ordinary enemy. Ebern, mocking Ichigo, challenges him, claiming he is not here by accident. Meanwhile, in the Soul Society, Squad 11 investigates strange footprints when, suddenly, an unknown group arrives. Their leader, Yuwak, coldly announces war before executing a subordinate for speaking out of turn. Back in Karakura town, Ichigo battles Ebern, who attempts to steal Ichigo's Bankai using a mysterious technique. However, Ichigo resists, shocking Ebern. At the same time, the Soul Society faces devastation as enemy forces annihilate a squad leader using his own Bankai. Yuwak's men retreat using shadow powers, leaving destruction in their wake. As Ebern escapes, he reports his failure to Yuwak, who punishes him by severing his arm, warning him not to speak out of turn again. The episode ends ominously as war looms ahead. The episode picks up from where the last one left off, showing Luther's Friegen's severed hand as Yuwak punishes him for speaking out of turn. Yuwak coldly reminds him that he has warned him before about arguing in his presence. Without hesitation, Yuwak executes Luther's with a mere flick of his finger, instantly crushing his neck. Meanwhile, in the human world, Ichigo and his friends are having breakfast when a call comes in from the Department of Research and Development, revealing that an attack has taken place in Soul Society. Many Soul Reapers have been killed, and the city is in chaos. As news spreads, an eerie tension fills the air. Rukia is shown patrolling early in the morning when she suddenly hears a faint voice calling out before the scene cuts away. In Hueco Mundo, the remnants of the Arrancar forces, including Tyr Haribal's followers, find themselves under attack by the invading Quincy forces. The Stern Ritter, led by Quilge Opie, easily overpower the Arrancar, demonstrating their brutal strength. Haribal herself has already been captured, leaving her subordinates desperate and outmatched. Back in Karakura town, Ichigo senses the disturbance in Hueco Mundo and decides to intervene. His friends protest, but he insists that he must go alone. Upon arriving, he finds Quilge Opie holding a group of Arrancar hostage, including Loli and Manoli. As Ichigo prepares for battle, he witnesses the brutality of the Stern Ritter firsthand. Meanwhile, in Soul Society, the Gotei 13 captains gather for a meeting to discuss the Quincy threat. They are informed that this enemy is far more dangerous than anything they have faced before. The episode ends ominously, with the looming sense that war is about to consume Soul Society. The next episode continues from the last, where Ichigo witnesses the defeated Arrancar women. Quilga Opie stands before him, prepared to fight. Ichigo questions if Quilga is a Quincy, to which he arrogantly confirms. Using his high-speed movement, Quilgi attacks, creating multiple copies of himself, but Ichigo blocks the assault. Meanwhile, in Soul Society, the Gotei 13 captains gather as Yamamoto officially declares war against the Quincy threat. Some captains ask for more preparation, time, but Yamamoto insists that immediate action is necessary. Back in Hueco Mundo, Ichigo intensifies his fight, activating his power as Quilge uses a mysterious energy to draw in surrounding spiritual pressure. Ichigo notices the technique resembles a hollow absorption ability. At the same time, a monstrous entity known as Ion is summoned by Mila Rose, Sung Sun, and Apache. Ion brutally attacks Quilge, delivering devastating blows and even causes his face to bleed. Meanwhile, in the Quincy stronghold, a mysterious figure reads about the history of the war between Soul Reapers and Quincy. Yuak enters, scolding him for looking into forbidden knowledge. Back in Hueco Mundo, Quilge is gravely wounded but refuses to back down. Instead, he activates a new transformation, absorbing Ion's energy, growing wings, and becoming even more powerful. As his new form drains energy from his surroundings, Ichigo realizes that Quilge is using a dangerous Quincy ability. Ichigo engages him again, but Quilge remains resilient. Meanwhile, in Soul Society, a blue light suddenly engulfs multiple Soul Reapers as the enemy finally launches their assault. Several captains and lieutenants fall, including key squad members, as the Quincy army appears. The episode ends ominously, as Yuak's forces stand ready to bring destruction, and Ichigo prepares for the toughest battle ahead. The next episode begins with the brutal attack on Soul Society by Yuak's forces. Squad 9 is the first to fall, completely overwhelmed before they can retaliate. The enemy's spiritual pressure is immense, and the Soul Reapers quickly realize that these Quincies are nearly unstoppable. Meanwhile, a message arrives at Squad 3's barracks, warning them of the imminent danger. The captains begin engaging in battle, with some encountering Sternritter warriors who introduce themselves. One such Quincy, Baz B, mocks his opponent before launching a fierce attack. Meanwhile, Renji arrives, ready to fight against Sternritter F, but quickly notices that his opponent can heal rapidly from any wound. As Renji struggles, Captain Byakuya Kuchiki steps in, advising Renji to step back. Byakuya activates his Bankai, but to his shock, it is instantly stolen. Similar incidents occur across the battlefield as captains attempt to use their Bankai, only to have them taken by the Quincy. The realization spreads that their Bankai are not being sealed but rather stolen. This knowledge comes too late, as several captains are already powerless against their enemies. Meanwhile, Ichigo, still fighting Quilge Oppi, learns that he is the only one whose Bankai cannot be stolen. As Ichigo prepares to finish the battle, a distress call reaches him, warning that the Soul Reapers are in danger. He rushes to return, but before he can leave Hueco Mundo, Quilge activates a powerful ability, trapping Ichigo in an energy prison. Back in Soul Society, the Quincies continue their merciless assault, slaughtering Soul Reapers and captains alike. With Ichigo unable to assist, the Soul Reapers are left vulnerable as Yuak's forces take complete control. The episode ends on a grim note, with Soul Society on the brink of annihilation. The episode begins with an announcement that Ichigo Kurosaki is on his way to Soul Society, bringing a glimmer of hope to the desperate Soul Reapers. He is the only one whose Bankai hasn't been stolen, making him their last chance. However, a sudden realization strikes. Ichigo's spiritual pressure cannot be detected, leaving everyone in shock. Meanwhile, trapped in Quilge Oppi's energy prison, Ichigo hears the cries of his allies, their suffering echoing through his mind. He furiously tries to break free, pushing his power to the limit, but the cage holds strong. Back in Soul Society, chaos continues as Sternritters mercilessly slaughter captains and lieutenants. Byakuya and Renji fight against Sternritter F, who possesses incredible regenerative abilities. Byakuya's Bankai, stolen earlier, is now used against him, and despite his best efforts, he is overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Rukia senses the massacre happening around her and realizes the scale of destruction. At the same time, another Quincy, Driscoll, Birchie, faces off against Captain Komamura, displaying overwhelming strength. Suddenly, Captain Yamamoto arrives, his spiritual pressure shaking the battlefield. Driscoll arrogantly uses a stolen Bankai against him, but Yamamoto, unfazed, incinerates him instantly with his flames. His sheer power inspires the remaining Soul Reapers, giving them hope. Meanwhile, Yuash watches from afar, unimpressed. The episode shifts back to Ichigo, who finally manages to crack his prison, but before he can escape, another attack seals him back inside. With Ichigo trapped and Soul Society in flames, the situation looks grim. The episode ends with Yamamoto stepping, onto the battlefield, his fury burning brighter than ever as he prepares to face Yuak himself.